Welcome back to Old School Gamers. Today we have XArcade's XR to TV unit, and we're going to do a simple upgrade. We're going to give it a pair of spinners so that you can play games like Arkanoid and Tempest and any other game that needs it. Let's dive into this. The XArcade2TV-XR is the latest in hardware that the XArcade folks have released, and this thing is really a monster. It's got all the things that you love from the tank stick and more. And today we're going to add some spinners to make this thing complete. And just a quick side note that XArcade's website does have the setup instructions as well, and I'll go ahead and put a link to that in the description for you. So when you're ordering these, just be aware that there are two kinds that you can order. You can order the one for your XArcade2TV-XR unit, or you can order the one for your original tank stick so you can upgrade it with spinners as well. All the spinners are going to be the same model and type, so they're going to have the same great feel, same quality. The only difference is the packaging, so you can either put it in your old tank stick or the XArcade2TV-XR. When you get your kit, you're going to receive one box. Now, the reason that I have two here is because I'm also going to be adding these spinners to the original tank stick as well. I'll also be doing a video on how to upgrade your original tank stick with those spinners, so just keep your eyes open for that one. Inside the box, you should have two spinner knobs attached to the modules already. You'll also have a PCB combo board, two spinner cables, a PCB cable, a firmware upgrade cable, and two spinner knob stickers, and of course some mounting hardware with some screws and washers. Alright, let's get to it. So we're going to take the XArcade2TV-XR joystick out of the stand. I went ahead and flipped mine upside down onto the box so the joysticks hang down. We're going to get to some screws on the bottom in a minute. But you need to get to the compartment that has your Allen wrench in there, or if you have your own, you can use it. But we're going to remove the handles on the side. They have two bolts, just unscrew them. And when they come out, be careful not to lose the spring, because you definitely need those to reattach it, or you won't be able to put it back into the stand. Once you loosen those and take it off, go ahead and put those to the side. Alright, once that is off, you'll see a screw underneath, and go ahead and remove it, and do this for both sides. Next, we're going to go to the front of the panel, and we're just going to take off these three screws right here. Alright, so just be aware that these screws hold in that white panel on the back of the joystick, so when you flip this over, that's going to fall out. So just make sure that you put your hand on it when you flip it over. Go ahead and take that control panel and flip it over. When you have the control panel flipped over, you're going to see that each of the VR controllers has two screws holding them in. Go ahead and remove all four of those. Yes sir, now we get to mount up these bad boy spinners. To mount the spinner, just push it through the opening and secure it using the two washers and screws provided. Just be aware that there is a specific side that each of them has to go to. The best way to describe it is when you put the spinner in, the plug that's on the back side of the sensor will point inward. So as long as both of the plugs are pointing inward or towards each other, then you have it mounted in the right direction. So it is recommended to use the new screws when attaching the spinners that come in that little hardware bag, but you can use the old screws as well, either way. Don't forget the washers. Now after you've mounted both spinners, you're going to secure the new PCB inside the unit, and then we'll start wiring everything up. For the PCB, just simply press the white extension into one of the holes and it'll snap in place. And I recommend using the same placement as mine to make sure that all the wiring can reach the PCB. Now before we start making all the connections, go ahead and take a minute and look at the dip switches that are on your combo PCB. You want to make sure that they're in the position that you want. These spinners do come with the booster kit already, and I cover exactly what that kit does and all the dip switches in a previous video, which I'll link to here. Next, what we got to do is connect the trackball to the new PCB that we just snapped in. So go ahead and disconnect it from the main board. If your cable does happen to have any of that rubber protection glue on it, it usually dries kind of yellow. Go ahead and remove that as well. It makes it easier to pull it out and push it back in later. And once you do that, you're going to plug it into port C on the PCB. And just for easier reference, I have the picture up here, which can also be found on XArcade's website. Alright, next you're going to take one of the provided cables that are labeled B, like boy, and you're going to connect one end into port B on the PCB, and you'll connect the other end of the cable into the main PCB where the trackball cable was before. Okay, almost there. Now take one of the provided cables that's labeled A, and use one for each spinner. So you're going to connect one end to the white plug on the back of the spinner sensor, and you're going to take the other end and plug it into A1 or A2 for each of the spinners. Once you've connected both spinner A cables, we're now going to connect the extended USB ports. And this is a really cool feature that XArcade added to these spinners for the TV-XR unit. And the reason I like this is because it allows you to connect additional, USB devices like 2 more controllers or light guns, which I'll demonstrate at the end of the video. The extended USB cables on each spinner get plugged in here on these 2 empty ports next to where you plugged in the cable B in the beginning. Alright, it's finally time to put it all back together. What we're going to do is start with the 2 screws that were on the sides, the one that were underneath the side blocks. And then what you want to do is attach the side blocks on each side and make sure that you attach them with the pair of springs on the inside of the block, and then tighten the bolts using the provided Allen wrench. So what I did is I tightened mine down with I'd say about a ½ inch of space between the side block and the TV-XR unit. That way they were both firmly attached and could still spring in and out for a bit of movement, so I could fit it into the TV to XR stand. Once those are in, the last thing we got to do is just flip the unit over and make sure you get the 3 screws that we took out on the front of the panel. And one final touch, let's add these decals on top of the spinners. Oh yeah. After testing out both the trackball and both spinners, I wanted to test out both extended USB connectors, and I wanted to try like a 4-player game to use both. So what I did is hooked up 2 controllers, as you can see here, just standard USB controllers, and I plugged them into the USB extender ports so that I could have 4 controllers total. So we're going to try a little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and see how it goes. Oh yeah, plays just fine. For the last test, I wanted to try out my light guns, and I have 2 send-in light guns, and so I decided to plug them both into the extended, USB ports. Unfortunately, I could only get it to work with 1 gun. No matter if I switched ports, switched guns, no matter what I did, I can only get 1 working at a time. So I had to plug my second gun directly into the PC. So I reached out to XArcade to see if they have any insight on it, but I haven't heard anything back as of the time of this video. So hopefully they figure it out. Not too big of a deal though. It still saves me 1 USB port, and it does support 2 USB controllers, so that's pretty cool. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it and see what they do in the future. If you have any questions, post them below and tell me what you think of these spinners, because I'm loving them. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.